Live from the Green Room Studios from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
There we go.
Hey, we're actually here. Everybody calm down. Okay, it's all good. It's Saturday morning. It means it's time for the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates. I am Josh Cary.
And I'm David Bates.
That's him over there. And
Tyler Blankenship's right there. He's the guy who manages the technical difficulties that seem to attack us.
Am I fixing them or am I creating them? I don't know.
Hey, it's all the same difference. We're just glad you're tuned in today and to participate in what we have going on. And I will say, let's get on with the weather.
Because it's chilly, David.
Well, it is a little chilly. And, of course, today is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a nice day. We've got some morning clouds, more sun in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
A high of 64 degrees, so it's going to be more comfortable than it was yesterday. I mean, yesterday was nice, but it was a little on the cool side.
Brisk.
Particularly for a day when we're getting tropicals in. I'm glad to see more sunshine. So 39 for the overnight low, so not quite as cold. In case you don't know what that white stuff you're seeing outside is called frost, ladies and gentlemen. And depending on where you live, it may actually be more frozen than that. Actually be some ice on. I got up at 2:45 this morning to get the irrigation going, so we've run for a few hours here, keeping the irrigation, covering the plants with water and doing a little light coat of ice. So anyway, back to the weather. Tomorrow, sunny on Sunday, 66 for the high, 44 for the low. Going to have some clouds move in on Monday, 73 for the high, 53 for the overnight low, and then rain by midweek, Tuesday and Wednesday, 67, 54, 67, 44 on Wednesday, a little cooler on Thursday. It seems like a weekend thing. 60 for Thursday, 50, 35. I hope that is not right. I'm going to ask for that to not be correct.
Correct.
But it might be 56, 40 on Saturday. So all said, it's all good. We're really glad to be here this morning. And
Pretty
it's currently
normal.
36 degrees here in the Green Room at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. So we appreciate you tuning in this morning as I'm still recovering, obviously, from eye surgery. Now, just more than 2 weeks removed from it, and my eye is beginning to open back up again. I feel like I need to do that.
Well, it looks better from this angle anyway.
Yeah,
So-
well, maybe. So it does. What really looks better is from the inside looking out. I actually have vision in my eye.
Cool.
Again, which is a nice thing, after you've had eye surgery. So I have peripheral vision. I can actually see you over there, Josh. So you watch out.
I will.
So,
No head smacks.
By the way, it's not just you and I and Tyler here in studio. We also have the weekly accompaniment and capable question answering skills of Cary Gant, Austin Lowen. Welcome, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
We could call them the drill sergeants of the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp.
There it is.
Wow.
Well, they are.
Ah.
I don't know if we can. Can you bring up our little parody thing that you guys did? Is that something can you?
I think I can.
The one that was on April Fool's yesterday?
Yes, and since we're the day beyond April Fools, it was. I always love all the different things that companies put out there. There's a company called 12 South that really does products just for Apple products, and they had their little thing was called a TV, and what you could put it, you slide your Apple TV box into it, and it was a little like 7-inch rectangular screen, and they had done a really cool mock-up of this fake product that did not exist, but
That's fantastic.
but they gave people special discounts for playing along, and so but it was it's a pretty uneventful April Fool's Day, and for those of you who subscribed to my newsletter. I had a few little thoughts on that. So
Yes.
we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I know we've got questions out there in the queue, and we've got one.
First one, but it came through. It came through on a secret bat phone.
Yeah.
The viewer wanted to know where your normal vest was last week.
My normal vest.
Your vest. Evidently, you were out of uniform last week, Dave.
My normal vest. I didn't know I wore a vest normally. I just wear one.
People have noticed that you wear a vest quite a bit.
Well,
Is it-
I am fully vested.
Oh,
I
there
do
it
have
is.
an array of them, but I don't necessarily wear one, particularly as the weather warms up. I tend to wear lighter clothing.
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
know why there's a correlation there or not. I am wearing a long sleeve shirt today.
I have
so-
3 layers on.
Well, it was rather chilly in here in the green room when we arrived this morning, and so we had to knock that chill off and get things going. But back to the question that
Yes.
you were referencing. Go for it. What?
That was the question.
That was the question. Okay, well,
Okay.
the question was the question. Here, Martha Ann, who was a longtime listener, she goes back to the WSM days. They did put
Maybe even further.
Jocelyn, her daughter, put a question out there wanting to know why her ghost peppers were not hot.
The ectoplasm didn't form.
I think that's probably I don't know if I can come up with a better one than that one.
They were a mere specter of what they were supposed to be.
Well.
you guys fired up at the puns this morning.
Just an apparition.
That's
Josh woke up with his thesaurus this morning, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
No.
So they were a ghost of themselves.
Yeah. So, Austin, got any ideas as far as things that are non-vernacular associated, but maybe are more of a horticultural thing?
well, that one's tricky. I will say that. The only thing I can think of is maybe you didn't buy ghost peppers. Maybe they were mislabeled. It happens sometimes.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what they look like. If they look like ghost peppers, but they weren't hot, that's just really, really rare.
I have never experienced ghost peppers that were not hot.
Maybe your threshold for pain is just excellent, and you didn't taste the
Possibly.
heat. But I'm assuming they were mislabeled somehow.
Well, now I can understand that if you had eaten a Carolina Reaper prior to that, because
You wouldn't taste anything.
it just burns your taste buds right off. And I'm known to consume one, but I'm not like whole.
With seeds.
I will
and
chop.
pith.
I will chop it up and put it in a salad, that kind of thing. But
Not down the hatch.
no, not just pop it in there like a little breath mint kind of a thing. So
Especially if you had a flat, if there was one weird plant that just was swimming in the shallow end of the gene pool, maybe. But if you had a flat of them or 3-4 pack, all 4 of them to be the same.
well, but when they're planted, they put they sow these seeds out on a seed flat, and they'll germinate them, then they transplant them, and it's just entirely possible to get an errant seed in there somewhere. I mean, it's almost inevitable that it occurs every now and then. Sometimes you'll get plants that have additional plants that are not a pepper at all. Maybe a tomato comes up in a carton. We call that a bonus around here.
Yeah.
If you
There you
happen to
go.
get one of those.
a
So
twofer.
Salad.
so anyway, if you do that, then you could possibly get some different pepper. The one thing we do know for sure, generally speaking, the genetics dictate that the hot peppers
Are hot.
dominate. So if you have hot peppers close to your sweet peppers, you may not have any sweet peppers. They may all be hot. So
Well, speaking of peppers, Bill Hayes wants to know, and he wants to remind us that Peppermint Patty is in the truck ready to come to the nursery to pick up a bunch of peppers. Have you got any peppers in yet?
We're not going to let Peppermint Patty
Yes,
come
we
in the
have.
studio. She had her visit, and we have considerably more wires now than we even had then.
Yeah.
I don't think that level of energy will really quite work at this stage of the game. Hey, we talked about a video that Tyler and Caroline did yesterday. Now, for those of you, I'll set this up a little bit, who have watched the great skills that Austin demonstrates as far as talking about plants. He's obviously has a great deal of knowledge and enthusiasm. And this is Cary's take on Austin's It's Worth a Grow. So check this out and see if you enjoy the humor. And we're going to see if we get this up here.
It's worth a grow with Austin.
Morning, Caroline here at Bates Nursery. Now I'm here to talk about the American Sycamore. As you can see, beautiful specimen to add to your front yard, to your backyard garden. Maybe put it in a very small pot because they like to be very root bound. Keep it small, keep it tight, keep it clean. All right, so you see the height on this bad girl? She's not gonna get any taller. She's gonna stay this size. These trees don't do anything else. Yeah, they just grow, they grow. These leaves are gonna turn a bright orange in the spring. And then in the winter, actually for some reason, I don't know why right now in the summer, it's green. But in the winter, this is what this tree is gonna look like. So it's gonna be different from the rest of those trees in your yard. Now, let's talk about planting it. So, when you dig your hole, you're going to want to go the size of this pot, maybe an inch bigger. Like I said, it likes to be root bound. It doesn't want to get too big. It wants to stay small. Now, you see this nursery pot right here? No need for a trash can, no need to recycle, because what you're going to want to do is dig that hole and get an inch, no more, bigger than this pot right here. Pick it up, drop that sucker in the ground, kick some dirt back on it. You're in God's country. You only need that dirt. You don't have got nothing. Put that soil on and walk away. So we've learned a few things. Doesn't get any bigger than this. Keep it in the pot when you plant it. It's got a beautiful show in the spring, big old meat stick, and that's worth a grow.
Oh, great job.
Oh, thank you.
That was remarkably Austin-esque.
Such good information.
You got the only thing the opportunity I think you missed was that you should have recommended people grease the root ball before you put it in the hole. It had to be that tight that you have to grease it to get it in there.
Next April Fools.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So anyway. So now, Austin, what's your take on all that?
I loved it. It was hilarious. We were talking yesterday. Yesterday was Tyler and Cary's 2-year anniversary at Bates Nursery.
But I'm fine.
So they've known me now for 2 years, and she knows me pretty well. She even got the squat down. I do that a lot. Yeah, like I said, she knows it was pretty accurate, and it's hilarious. She did the sycamore tree because I went to Sycamore High School in Cheatham County. And I'm still proud of that.
Do they spell Sycamore that way in Cheatham County?
There's multiple spellings, depending on what bridge you go to.
I think it's Sycamore up there.
Yeah.
Hey, Austin.
Yeah.
Revenge is best served cold.
That is true.
Yes. So.
Uh-oh.
All righty. Do we need to get through and get to moving with the show here? I think there's a lot of
It's moving.
We're
Yeah,
moving
Josh,
good,
come
but
on.
I mean, no. We're having a bunch of fun, and that's always good.
Do you want to get your?
We need to talk what Josh wants to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what-
What we've got here, you can see in studio. There's all kinds of different things. Now these are the shirts that the employees wear, right, David?
Beautifying Nashville since 1932.
Is that not a great logo?
Yes,
We have tote bags. Tote bags. Will they be available for sale
Yes.
here? Yes, they will.
Those are for sale, not for the employees.
Not to the
these are
employees.
directly to people.
But we have the dirt shirts that are available that will be around. I think.
We still have some dirt shirts. We're working on a new batch.
But the newest fashion accessory for any gardener this year, the dirt bottle, ladies and gentlemen. You must stay hydrated when you're working.
It's the Bates Nursery. I like to play in the dirt bottle.
To play but
and it's fine to drop that in the dirt because it closes up tight.
Nalgene, man.
You keep it clean on the inside and it can be dirty on the outside.
you can hang it on your backpack or on your work apron.
So anyway,
It's clippable. It's trippable. It's drinkable.
They're virtually indestructible. It is a Nalgene product, but I am impressed.
Brand name. Nalgene.
Nalgene. Yeah, it's not the knockoff Nalgene.
No, not Nalgene.
Nalgene?
Yeah, later
Nalgene.
Yeah.
Yep, see, very good. Anyway. Stuff.
Hey,
this is
Caroline,
cool.
do we have questions?
We
by
do
chance?
have questions. Let's go ahead and get the
move
first
on.
one
Let's move
up.
on to that segment here.
All right. Any and all things boxwood pruning. Austin, that sounds right up your alley. I know you love boxwoods and cutting on things. So
Yeah, I do.
Take it away.
Boxwoods. All right, so pretty much with boxwoods, y'all, it's just kind of get them back uniform before the spring flush. So you're going to do this anytime in, say, January or February. You know, the boxwoods tend to flush, or they don't tend to. They certainly flush in the spring. And then a lot of times with healthy, happy ones, they'll flush again kind of later in the summer into fall. So you get kind of leggy, stringy little stems everywhere. So if you're a very uniform person and really want that boxwood round and perfect and tight, you're going to get all of that foliage cut back to the same level where it's all uniform across the whole shrub. And then in the early spring, which pretty much now boxwoods are starting to unfurl and leaf out. I know I've got a lot of boxwood in my house, and they're starting to want to flush. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting there. So getting them all pruned back tight before they flush in the spring is what you want to do.
And one of the things we should mention about boxwood, and you'll begin to see signs of it this time of year, the nemesis of boxwood's producers and people who just enjoy having them in their landscape is the boxwood blight, which is a very real thing. And why don't you talk just a moment, additionally, Austin, about the things that people need to be looking for with respect to telltale signs when boxwood blight has set in.
Yeah, so boxwoods, especially boxwoods over the wintertime, you see a lot of different leaf issues, and sometimes it's just normal kind of bronzing over the wintertime or reddening. A lot of different boxwoods show signs of that. Now, a telltale sign is going to be some very off-color leaves that are like brownish, tannish, and it'll be a very noticeable section of the plant that's gone that way. And then you look down the stems, and the biggest telltale is down a stem there will be black streaks along that stem. That kind of is a huge characteristic of boxwood blight. If you are unsure and want to for sure know if you've got a lot of boxwood, you really need to make sure that you take care of this. So send in a sample to the Ellington Ag Center, let them look at it under a microscope, and they'll let you know if you've got that pathogen.
Send it directly to them. Don't send them to Bates, right? So,
don't take them around places where other boxwood are.
Exactly.
And I will tell you that to show that they can happen, I have a number of boxwood, but I have one that's in an isolated location. It's not near any other boxwoods at all, and it has boxwood blight. I am 99% certain of that, and consequently, I'm gonna have to get that out of there carefully and destroy that. And typically, you're recommended to double wall trash bag them. That means dig it out, put all the pieces in a trash bag, and then put that trash bag in another trash bag, and then send it to the landfill. Do not compost it. Do not put it in with other desirable organic waste. You do not want to save that. And here's the worst part of it all. Once you get that out and you clean everything up, you can't ever plant a boxwood back in there.
Didn't at one point in time, didn't you say that the boxwood was misnamed? It should have been called a dogwood.
Well, the dogwoods, the boxwoods seem to be more attracted by dogs than any other. But this is not the kind of damage. What I'm seeing on mine is not,
because it's usually lower down on the
and it's
plant.
not a streak. This is a mottled looking foliage throughout, and even the new growth coming out on it is very weakened looking. It doesn't look right. So I got to get that done like in the next few days and get all my things together and be prepared. If you have to cut it up in smaller pieces to be able to manage it, make sure you keep alcohol and some wipes with you. We all have hand cleaner. And clean the cutting knife and the bed knife and the blade on your pruners, whatever you've used, be it hand pruners or loppers or whatever. Clean those completely. Otherwise, you will likely transmit that pathogen to other boxwood if you're trimming. So just be mindful of that. It's very transmissible.
Yes, and it's a really good point, because a lot of times, a lot of people that have a lot of boxwoods are getting landscape companies to do it for them, and those landscapers out there are not very careful about cleaning their shears and stuff. So if you need to, if you have guys coming out to clean your boxwoods and you notice spotting on them or whatever, noticing some issues, let them know they need to be cleaning their tools in between, because those are the biggest spreaders of that fungal pathogen. The spores on the boxwood blight fungus is extremely sticky, and it's very persistent. It doesn't go away for many, many years. So tell those guys you got to be careful with this.
It's an STD,
and if you've got
BTD.
money, a lot of
sheer
money,
transmitted disease.
if you have a lot of boxwood, you've invested a lot of money in them, and so I would suggest you invest in really good shears that you put your name on, that when they come to trim your boxwood, you say, don't use yours, you're going to use mine.
Fantastic
Most
idea.
definitely.
And that way, you know, and then when they leave your shears at your house. So you don't have the risk of that. It's, somebody might believe they have really cleaned them, and maybe they just kind of wiped them off with a rag, you know.
A T-shirt.
You know, maybe in using WD-40, that kind of thing is a good thing for cleaning the shears, but it doesn't necessarily kill the pathogen. So you're not only trying to clean off all the goo and gunk that might be on there, you've got to really get the pathogen killed on that. So I think the better solution is to have your own, and that way you don't have to worry about it having either taking some from your house and transmitting it elsewhere, or some of that coming to your house from someone else's home or boxwoods. So, hey, let me take a minute and talk to you about Earthmix garden products. You know, we've got some Earthmix signs and banners up around here, and out on the website earthmix.net. You can see that there's quite a lot put into creating a soil product that is 100% organic. Currently, we're in the process of getting our OMRI certification on that. So we not enough to really try to take all of the organic practices. We want to be able to talk about that and being certified. So we're in the process of that already. Not there yet, but it's quite an involved process. But it won't make the product better, because we've already taken all the steps to do that. When you use the best products and inputs, and there's no chemicals added whatsoever, so you're getting the best things that Mother Nature provides and getting them in the amounts that really are difference makers for the growth of your plants and where they're going to grow and ultimately thrive. You know, it's easy to talk about plants thriving, but the proof is in the pudding, and we have found that people who use Earthmix garden products for their plantings have about a 10 times greater success rate than those who do not. So check it out. Located all independent garden centers around Middle Tennessee. If you want a list of that, you can go to the website over at earthmix.net and click on the Find Earthmix tab right there, and you'll come up with the screen that shows all the pins on the map of all the locations around Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, and I just lost my screen. And that's good, because I was tired of looking at it anyway.
You're done with the commercial anyway, David.
So
just
remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earthmix garden products, and we encourage you to go out there and support all the independent garden centers and other sellers of the Earthmix garden brand. You know you're getting the best.
Very good. Very good.
There it is.
Cary, someone called you a goose on the Facebook
I
page.
can guess who that is.
Okay. You goose.
Does her name rhyme with mine?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Sherry Gant.
That would be Mom, right?
Mama.
That would be Mom. She watches every morning. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Did she watch The Mornings We're Not On, too?
Every morning. She just
every day.
puts the screen on and just sits there for 1 hour.
Does Tyler do her edited down best of Cary episodes where all we see is Cary the whole time? There'll be a quick little cutaway, then it's back to Cary.
Could be.
It
Tyler
should
can make
be.
that
Yeah,
happen.
should be, yeah.
Let's do it, Tyler.
Don't
I know
tempt me.
Uh-oh. Wow, you shot right to your face. I'm excited. I'm ready for it.
All right. Do we have any
All
more
right.
questions?
Yep, I was about to say, I think we're ready for another question.
Okay.
How do I get my 10-year-old yuccas to grow long trunks? They're still low to the ground.
They're
10
getting to be
years.
teenagers, so you got to talk to them sternly and get them out there and break these habits.
Well, that's not too tough to do. I mean, all you got to do is just start, pulling the fronds off around the base of it.
Oh.
Now, they will do that naturally as they age, but even a 10-year-old yucca is really not very old. You know, they can live to be quite old plants. So as they grow, when they are in a really happy place and the foliage is getting good light and their moisture is just right, they don't get stressed. Therefore, they keep all of those fronds. So you might want to figure out how you're going to stress it. Well, you got any input on that, Austin?
Yell at 'em.
I mean, I think
I'm
you hit it.
telling you.
Whenever a yucca's got full sun and it's happy where it's at, like you said, it'll stay kind of lower, and the fronds don't really fall off. Yucca in the shade is a much different story. It'll shoot up for that light and it'll produce a stem, and then you can remove those lower leaves and see a stem. But with full hot sun, unfortunately, there's not much you can do to kind of make it bigger. I don't know if you could maybe force nitrogen like heavy. They're not known to be like heavy feeders, but you can maybe push some growth with a little bit of excess nitrogen.
Or you simply could trim off some around the bottom if you wanted to, and then it'll eventually shed off those fronds that have been just cut off from their photosynthesis purposes. They'll just dry up. Then you can peel off what remains of them, and then you'll have a stem.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to do that.
There it is. All right. On to our next question. Why is my string of hearts green instead of red? So if it's not getting a lot of or any direct sunlight.
Well, tell us what that is first,
Okay.
Caroline.
Yeah. So string of hearts, we have them in the garden center. It's basically a vining kind of succulent that's heart-shaped. We've actually had it on the show before. They're really cool. And interestingly enough, they'll grow faster if they're not getting direct sunlight, and they turn green. So I have one that it's in a brightly lit room, but it doesn't get any direct sun, so it's kind of a green silvery color. But if I were to move that to a window to where it was getting some direct sunlight, the sun stress would cause it to turn red. So if you want it to be more red, you just need to move it closer to a window. I suggest morning light to start, and you'll start seeing some color pop on those little hearts.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah. Sunlight. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say morning light, you're not talking about like if you're really sad about something. You mean like it's in the early part of the day. That
Early
kind of
part
morning.
of the day,
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
All right.
Or
Just want to
sadness.
make sure.
Yeah. Whichever.
All right.
All right, on to our next question. What is your favorite specimen plant for an open, full sun landscape design?
Austin, jump on that one. I want to hear what you narrow it down to one.
One
Well, that's
single
tough,
thing.
isn't it?
It is very tough for us because we've got 100 different specimen plants. But something that just hit the lot the other day that I actually saw yesterday for the first time. It came in on Monday whenever I was off. I didn't see it. And there's all sorts of plants out here that I miss. Well, because we get trucks all the time. A golden deodar cedar. Ooh. Oh, we've got some right now. They're like in a 10 or 15 gallon pot. Not all that expensive for what you're going to get. Bright, beautiful golden foliage. In the springtime, it is lit up. It's got this two-tone look to it where it's kind of a little bit darker green on the interior of the plant and then this just gorgeous yellow foliage on the exterior of the plant. So it makes this two-tone look. It's got a weeping, graceful habit as it ages. They can get pretty big. They can get 20, 30 foot tall and even bigger with age. But they've got this pendulous habit, so their branches kind of come out and then they fall down. It's a needle-like plant. It is a conifer, so it keeps its needles through the wintertime. Excellent specimen plant to build around. Get you a new bed put out in the front yard and stick that thing right in the middle, and then let's build around it. But very, very cool tree.
And that's just true with most conifers. You want to be careful to select a spot that drains well enough. They cannot. The one thing they are... If you want to kill one, is just keep it wet all the time. It will die.
Yep.
It will not. And that's the biggest issue we have with the cedar family of plants. The true cedars are the fact that they are notoriously adverse to wet feet. So they need to be, when you plant them, make sure you get them in an area where you can have excellent drainage, and they'll do great.
That's really kind of an unfair question, to be truthful, because it's going to depend so much on what the house looks like, what the yard looks like, what time of year it's going to be.
What
And
the
also
light,
just
what the light conditions are.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, full sun is certainly preferred with this plant. It's going to give you the biggest, the most golden show. But what's funny about deodar cedars is people typically either like really love them or they don't like them at all. It's one of those plants that's like some people look at it and they're like, that looks thin and kind of Dr. Seussy. I get that word a lot whenever I'm looking at it.
Kind of like a Von Horstmann?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it's similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same family, but
But deodars tend to be thicker as they age, and they not as much light gets through them, I guess. You know, blue Atlas cedar is certainly a plant that's very army, open. You can see kind of through them. They're somewhat thin, tall growing, but still somewhat thin. You know, even whenever they're about 6 to 8 feet tall, you look out in the yard, it almost looks like someo's out there, like a person.
Well, and I have one on either end of my portico at the driveway.
And we're back.
Now they have, and Renee has never allowed me to trim them, and consequently they look very different than they do as a juvenile plant. They are very thick, very stalky, and like you say, if you have the light just right, you might think someone is,
out there by the carport,
crouching out there with their arms out.
Yes,
a big guy, a really big guy though. He's like 8 or 9 feet tall,
standing
and
at the
about
end of the
4 feet
carport?
wide. Yeah, he's big.
Okay.
Him and his partner both.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. That was a great answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Nailed it. All right. In your Q&A webinar, someone's been watching our boot camps.
All right.
You talked about walnuts being bad for your garden. Advice on removal.
Removal of walnuts.
Yeah. Now what walnuts have is a chemical called juglone in there. And there are quite a lengthy list of plants that are juglone intolerant. I mean, it's a very short list of plants that can tolerate it.
That's right.
So if you've got walnuts growing in your yard, they kind of have to be out there by themselves. Even your lawn doesn't want to grow around it. There, it's a very valuable tree from a timber standpoint.
Yes.
But it might not be your first choice due to complications with a whole list of other plants. So
really good looking plant, but they're messy and walnuts, and I mean,
now. But if danger erupts and you have a slingshot, you can take those walnuts and you've got some ammo to work with.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
I will say, though, you probably ought to inquire about someone that might be able to remove them and use them for their timber, because that
very
walnut
valuable.
wood is very valuable. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you've got some nice kind of tall, long, mature walnuts, you might get paid for those trees.
No, but even if you take them down, that juglone exists in all parts of the plant. It'll be in the root system. So just because you get them down, you're going to have to do some extensive grinding out of the stump, hauling off all of that mass, getting some soil back in there, and then probably still wait a decade.
Yeah, seriously.
Other than that,
It takes and then have a very narrow palette of plants that you can plant back in there. Mahogany is one of those things that are tolerant of it, and there are a few other things, but most
plays
things
for Kansas City, doesn't he?
No, that's Mahone.
Okay.
I think Viburnum's okay for it. I know that because I've got a number of walnut trees in my lawn. It's funny you talk about the lawn. They're on the edge of the wood line where I mow, and that grass up underneath those walnuts is not really grass at all. It's kind of weedy, just whatever junk stuff that doesn't really grow.
I had one in a K31 fescue lawn, and it killed the K31.
Yeah, I mean, it's real deal. I mean, it's no joke. But like I said, I planted a Viburnum pretty close to it, like less than 15 feet away, and it's leafing out and doing okay. So I think Viburnum, as most Viburnums are, extremely tough and versatile. It seems to be doing okay under black walnut.
All right.
I have a question on that.
Okay.
I have a black walnut in between my apple trees, and they look sad. Could that have something to do with it?
Probably.
Yeah, I had to say it's probably more to do with the cedar trees that are in the area, and that cedar apple rust. It's a pathogen that apple trees and Juniperus virginiana, which is, we call it a cedar tree, although it's really not a cedar.
No.
But there is a pathogen that they pass back and forth on alternate years. So the apple trees will have. Did you see these like brown looking splotches and spots
Pimples.
on the leaves? It makes the foliage look really bad. That's a pretty sure sign. If you've got cedar trees in your area, you probably need to choose. And do you really want apples? And that includes crab apples, or do you want to spray a whole lot? And as everyone knows, in this part of the country, with much humidity as we have, it's a thriving spot for anything that has a disease or pathogen related to it. Things just seem to grow exponentially quickly. So
I'd be kind of worried about it growing up and shading them out, because they will
Well,
get
those
huge.
apple trees have been there. I don't know how long.
Okay.
I was about to say, those are some old apple
They're
trees.
old
Okay.
and gnarly. They were on the property when
Do you get any fruit off of them?
I do, yeah.
Well, if you're getting some and they're that big, it probably just doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
What about pruning? Have they been pruned at all?
How do you grow prunes?
I kind of pruned it, but not really.
You kind of have to get on that early in their life. That's kind of the key. I recently just pruned 28 apple trees for a good customer of ours. On Monday, I did that, went out and pruned them for him. He's got some, 4 or 5 year old apple trees that I've been working on the past couple years, getting them to the point where I want them to where they'll be easier to harvest fruit later and, just have better fruit production.
It's just like children. If you miss that opportunity while they're young, they get away from you and there's just nothing you can do.
That's right. So, prune your apple trees and all your fruit trees early in life. Get them a good start. And I can help you, with choosing limbs and whatever.
And that early in life part is good whether it's you or the tree.
That's right.
The older you get, the harder that pruning gets. And I can tell you that with certainty.
Yeah, buddy.
And the older the tree, the harder the pruning gets on it. All those cuts hurt a little bit more on an older tree.
That sounds sad. I'll just let mine go.
Yep.
Okay. Let's get another question in. I've heard a lot of methods for watering a fiddle leaf fig. What is your advice? I would say
biggest question ever.
Question. It is, and the fiddle leaf fig is probably one of the most problematic plants we have here at Bates as far as houseplants go.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem is overwatering. So they like to dry out, and they like to be snug in their pots. So I always suggest letting
just
your
1
plant...
inch around dirt around.
I know. I was like,
no
that's
more
exactly
than
what
that.
I said. I always suggest letting it completely dry out between waterings. Right now, I've probably watering mine once a month. So I let the soil dry out to where it's almost pulling away from the pot that it's in, and then I will soak it. I'll let it thoroughly, water go all the way through the pot so you see it run out of the bottom, and then just leave it alone. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of customers, and I think I just tried Googling advice on watering a fiddle leaf fig just to see what comes up online, and I did find that in an answer forum, it said 3 cups of water once a week for a 10-inch pot, which is absolutely wrong. If you're like, that is just, it's the worst method of watering.
And how can you even put a timer? Is that water has anything to do with a set amount of time? I mean,
but dagnabbit, we have to have rules in our lives.
Josh has some feelings about this. Hello. And there's apps that I've had people tell me about that it gives them a watering schedule. They plug in their plant and the pot size. That's still not going to work because the climate in your home is going to change through the seasons. Light stays bright longer if it's getting more sunlight. That's also not going to work. You really just have to test your soil, put your finger in it. If you think it's wet at all, just let it go for a couple days and don't give it.
That's a great tool.
I really like
this is a great tool.
Yeah, I really like the method of just picking the container up. And if you do that regularly, you begin to understand that if that's hard to pick up, that must mean it's wet because it's going to weigh a whole lot more when it's wet than it does when it's dry. So if it's very light, you go, well, I think it's getting close.
Yep.
So that's if you don't want to get your dirt under your fingernails, that's one way around it, and it does work. It's a very reliable method.
It does.
But we like to play in the dirt.
Well, we do. We do, absolutely. Hey, that's when we talk for just a moment about Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Speaking of playing in the dirt, we do a lot of that around here, and the folks who are kind enough to do business with us, we appreciate that opportunity and to kind of give them reason to get out there and dig in the dirt. Yep. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're talking about trees, shrubs, ground covers, ornamental grasses, fruit-bearing plants, flowers, all pretty much any kind of garden plant you can think of. And, of course, in Cary's world, the tropical, we've got a whole truckload of those coming in today, which we always schedule those shipments for the middle of the day on this Saturday. That's exactly when we want that to come in. So we're going to be working on it the best we can. But so that's one of those little challenges. But if you go to our website, batesnursery.com, and you can see on the screen up here that there's all manner of tabs up here at the top for all the different categories of areas you can shop and you can search, but all of these things, if you choose to, you can order online, be it bulk materials or bag materials, or you
can do keywords too.
Right, you can, or right there on the front page, Tyler's got a shop annuals right there, so you can click on that, and it'll show you all the different types of annuals we've got. So check all that out over at batesnursery.com.
Don't forget, David, we added native categories
Wow.
on the trees and shrubs and perennials.
Because joy would get us if we didn't talk about the natives. It's very important, particularly with regard to pollinators and that kind of thing. Speaking of pollinators, we got a shipment in from Peace Farms, which is the organic vegetable growers, and there are also organic pollinators in with the certified organic vegetables that we've gotten in from them. So if you really want to stay organic all the way from seed to harvest, we do have a great selection of certified organic vegetable plants, in addition to all of the other selections that we have on hand. And if you haven't been down to our new greenhouse area, we have completely raised the roof and redone it. It's a much more pleasant shopping experience.
Josh.
Yep.
Much more pleasant shopping experience, and with our change of our ventilation system, it's also not quite so noisy. The other fans that we have now are a lot quieter than the old ones. So
will they still blow the butter off your bread? Because they're very efficient.
They pulled the air through you.
Yes. Now these are located up in the tall pitch, and they're on the uphill side of it. So the
hot air goes up.
Hot air does tend to go up, yeah.
It's cool. It's very nice, folks.
Go in there and check that out, and we'd love to show you everything we've got. And our selection is still growing. I think we got 20 racks in yesterday. We got another 10 or 15 in, and then they kind of start arriving by the truckload after that point.
Did we answer Bill's question about? Did we get peppers in? Did you get peppers?
Oh yeah, we got.
We got peppers. Yes. And we've got those in.
You got those fake ghost peppers for Martha Ann?
I think these are all real ghost peppers. So anyway,
I don't know if she wants.
So that I can wrap this up. Okay. We've kind of gotten way off track here, and thank you for your patience, everybody.
It's all good.
We hope you come out and see us. We're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike, which is just minutes from Rivergate Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And this, I promise you, no matter where you're coming from, it's worth the drive. We have folks that make their annual pilgrimage from Knoxville, from Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Cool.
We from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. So, and all points around Kentucky. So come on down to see us. We'd love to have you. We've got some things you probably won't find elsewhere. So if you're a serious gardener, we believe it's worth the drive. And Josh will tell you that it's 0.9 miles north, and I will tell you that it's just 1 mile.
That depends on which gate you go.
It's a little bit easier that way. Yep. Come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, open 7 days a week, 9 to 4 Monday through Saturday, noon to 4 on Sunday. Check us out online at batesnursery.com. So that's about enough out of me on that.
All right, and we have a question on the Bates Facebook page, and I'm not sure. I guess this is a serious question about our opinion on sycamore trees. I love the bark and the size of the mature trees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they actually are a good tree, Austin. So tell them why you like sycamores. It's not just because you went to Sycamore High School.
And it's not just because Caroline's impersonating you.
No, sycamores are beautiful trees. You're right. I mean, the bark. Me and my wife were actually talking about sycamore trees last night. She really likes them too. They have, white exposed bark as they age. They grow extremely fast, so you can buy a fairly cheap tree out here and get something growing pretty quickly. You'll see something pretty large in your yard before you know it. Got a great canopy. They can live in a wet spot, so if you got an area next to a creek or if it's just wet holding water, they can handle that just fine.
Yep.
Not a ton of issues with them.
They do have great big leaves.
They do.
So if you don't like great big leaves, you might want to consider something else.
Yeah, because when they get big, they really throw a bunch of leaves down on the ground. Yep. And they really cover it up. So,
when you say white bark, is it like a?
It's exfoliating kind of a bark that kind of peels back, and it's it's very attractive looking, particularly as they get older.
Yeah.
The named cultivars are called London plane trees. So and there's a number of good cultivars of those.
Okay.
Yeah. So, plant a sycamore. I love it.
Plant 3.
Do it.
Plant 3.
Yeah.
Make
Make
a
sure you
statement.
space them apart a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, definitely plant a sycamore tree. I love them. We have some.
Yep.
We got a lot of trees.
You got to grease the root ball, though.
And keep it in the pot.
Speaking of a lot of, do we have any more questions, Caroline?
We do have some more questions, but before we get to the next question, I'm just wondering what's in bloom around town.
Hey, Austin, what's blooming? Has anybody been taking notes?
Had to write some stuff down today. We got some stuff in bloom, y'all. Now, this is kind of the week where a lot of stuff is getting out of bloom. We have a number of plants that are kind of getting finished up. I'm going to say it, Josh. The BPs, the Bradford pears, they're still going, man. Some of them are still going.
Yeah,
but we're not going to tell you. It's the third week of mentioning those. Anyway, Yoshino cherry, still in full bloom. They're starting to leaf out now. So that plant flowers before it leaves, but it's starting to leaf now. So you kind of get a two-tone white bloom with a green leaf behind it.
During the strong winds earlier in the week, it looked like a snowstorm in my neighborhood. It was amazing how many flower petals were flying around.
I know. I saw the same thing. That was cool. Another thing that opened up this weekend is still not in full show yet, but about quarter show to half show is the crab apples. I brought a couple crab apples in. One of them's behind David's head over there. It's got dark foliage with pink blooms behind it. We've got a number of these right now that are really looking pretty. So crab apples are jumping out there. Another one that's kind of, that's pretty. That's a really pretty thing.
Reach for the stars.
Another one that a lot of people don't really know about is weeping peaches. Weeping peaches. Those are out right now.
Weeping peaches.
Yes, and we've got a couple. I kind of want a weeping peach. Don't get me wrong. I really like weeping peaches, but some of them get really big too. If y'all notice, pink blooming, they're kind of dark blooms, and they can be very large. So what you might misidentify as a weeping cherry is actually a weeping peach, and they are really, really showy.
And
right
they're
now.
first cousins, so they're easily confusable.
They are. They look very, very similar. So other than that, not too many more trees right now, except for redbuds are really rocking, and dogwoods are right behind them.
I've got my little Cherokee Brave dogwood that's at my driveway. It's just starting to open the first few flowers on it. So those really are a wonderful, one of the original patented cultivars of dogwood, and they put on quite a show.
Yeah, they do. That's a dark pink variety, and I do believe we have some of those right now. So, like I said, next week the dogwoods are really going to be lit up. So, other than that, we've got what's looking really great right now that's in bloom is your pansies and your violas. Those are money right now. This is a great time for them.
And the very difficult decision time is going to that I think causes more stress for folks than they can really deal with is that. Right when the pansies and the violas are looking their very best, it's time to take them out.
That's right.
Now, we're not quite there yet.
No.
But within a couple of weeks, though, you're going to be faced with that dilemma of that, gosh, what do I do? So you need to be preparing yourself. Take pictures. Go out there and, enjoy your time with them. They're going to have to go away. Because if you fail to do that, your warm season annuals won't have enough time to get really established well, and they'll be much more susceptible to things going wrong with them, like lack of water, mainly. So.
Yeah, I'm a May 1st kind of guy.
Yeah.
Whenever May hits, pansies are out, and warm season stuff's going in.
It'll be here before you know it,
It
because
really will.
It's already April.
It's already April. And then other than that, three of the low-growing ones, we got tulips in full show right now. Those things are money. Creeping phlox, just creeping about yards and lawns and beds and the front borders. They're great. Pinks and whites and blues. I know you've seen those around. And then candy tuft, which is a nice little evergreen perennial plant that blooms white, and they're in full show right now. So good little plant. And I wanted to, while I was here, talk about some bad bloomers.
Uh-oh.
Bad. Oh, that's bad. That's blooming. And the big two in my yard anyway is dead nettle, which Lamium is the genus of that plant, and it's those little pesky cool season pink flowers that are in your yard right now. I'm sure you've noticed. If you haven't mowed yet, which I haven't, I'm going to get my first mow on Monday. Kind of can't wait. But anyway, those are at full bloom around your yard. I've had a lot of people ask me, what are those pink bloom things in my yard? That's what it is. It's called dead nettle. That's a cool season weed. Best to get those out right now. If you can get them out before they go to flower, that's going to be your best bet for not getting them next year. So that's a bad little bloomer. And then also, what else has happened? The dandelions.
Oh,
they are
I kind
out.
of like them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why?
Hey, let me share this
They
with
are
you.
edible.
Here's a little something that a friend of mine shared online this week on her LinkedIn page. She is Suzette Nordstrom, by the way. She's an outside sales rep for Monrovia, and she had cut hyacinths and stuck them in the vents of her car while she's riding around, and they're extremely fragrant.
Wow.
So it's a really nice way to be able to enjoy them more fully and, have them in the car. So, maybe be looking for, hyacinths that are in flower, because they'll be rapidly going out if they're not already. So
That's a good pro tip.
Yep.
That is a good. Oh, there's one. All right.
Hey, we have a question on the Facebook page for Bates Nursery right now. Can you talk about the best option for weed control in already established flower beds?
We can, but we won't. I'm sorry.
No.
We have that capability.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna give an answer you're not gonna like. Hand pull them.
Yep.
I'm telling you, y'all, it's work. I know it's work. It's hard work, but it's the most effective, and especially before they start to flower. That's crucial. Gardening is work. There's no doubt about it. It's really, it's just a labor of love. Think about it that way. So
it's cheaper than psychotherapy.
It definitely is. And there's certainly synthetic products you can be throwing all over your yard, and Roundup and pre-emergence and preen and all this type of stuff. It's somewhat effective. Not fully, though.
No.
It only lasts a little while.
That's right. Yeah. So,
but if you're particularly in your beds, if you see it, just grab one or two every time you walk by. I mean, you don't have to go out there and make it a big production. Just stay ahead of it and go visit your plants every day.
There's the sympathy factor that many people
I don't
go
have any
for
sympathy
when they're pulling weeds, that they're looking for someone to go by and notice that they're weeding. Oh, these weeds. So the point of it is that you're making, Josh, is don't let them get ahead of you.
Yeah.
Just stay at them. It's like any other project.
That dandelion that's in the brown mulch, it's really easy to see.
Yeah, now pulling dandelions
That's a different
is
deal.
another
It's
thing.
got a taproot.
not easy at all.
But
Now on that subject, let's talk about weed technology, weed pulling technology. I just got a Cobra head weeder after hearing about that online. It is this hook that kind of curves around. It's a steel hook. It's very sturdy, and it can literally just reach in the dirt and get under the roots of some of the bigger weeds and just loosen them right up. And it does make weeding a lot easier. So there are things like that can make it more enjoyable.
You step on it, or
a
is this
kneeling
hand?
pad is also great for your knees, or a little rolling bench. So
I'm
then
definitely at the knee pads or kneeling pad stage. The old knees just are allergic to it. It seems.
Yes, and
the lower back at the same time.
maybe a nice
the back
glass
doesn't
of
get me with the knees
Yeah.
and the shoulders.
But
some iced tea, a little finger sandwich,
crust
some
or
nice
no crust.
gloves. I mean, come on, make it an experience.
But you're right, Tyler. Anytime you can weed standing up is much better than getting down on the knees with the back.
Well, I was raised with an old weeding hoe.
Yeah.
And that's what the technology
What
you're
was her
talking about
name?
is based on. Is a weeding hoe. This is just a very narrow weeding hoe that only hits a small spot. And
That's the one with the two forks and
Right.
a spade on the other side.
well,
Or-
that's another type of a weeding
Step and
hoe.
prop.
But
Yeah.
That's a garden hoe is what I would. Anyway, I'm well versed on the use of those, and
You've used a bunch of
it's a lot
hoes in
like
your
work.
day?
I've used a lot of different hoes and rakes and every other kind
Yes.
of hand tool you can think of.
But that's the bet particularly for the dandelions. If you can step down, pry it up, and then get as much as you possibly can,
it'll still come back,
It comes
Josh.
back, but you can't wait until the little tufts of white start flying.
That's one of the areas where that if you can spray a contact 2,4-D herbicide direct, not maybe spray your whole yard, but hit the spots where it is, you can get rid of those without putting an undue amount of herbicide down.
If you cup over the end of the head.
We had just chosen at our house several years ago. We quit herbiciding. We don't want to use the chemicals. We don't want
herbs.
We don't want to we don't use either pre-emergence, post-emergence. Now, do we have a weed-free lawn? No, we do not. But it's green, and we do fertilize it, and you can use some things like corn gluten if you want to get some organic nitrogen. That also is a natural desiccant, so it will keep a number of weed seed-derived plants minimized because it desiccates the surface of the soil.
Dries them out.
Yeah. So,
And I think I'm going to I had an idea on doing a webinar about spraying herbicides. So if you do want to get down to that Roundup level and spray, which I still do sometimes whenever they've gotten out of control, but I will show you techniques on how to do that properly without messing up anything else. So stay tuned. We'll do that soon.
Yep, and that's really important because the mistakes that are made by many individuals, and it's mostly homeowners because they're not regularly or well versed perhaps in how to properly apply things. The biggest mistake it gets made in herbicide application is over pressurizing their pump up sprayer. You need to use that thing at the lowest possible pressure you can, and have the nozzle set so that you got a cone. You don't want a flat cone. You want it almost not a straight stream either, but something that's just off of a straight stream, so you increase the droplet size so you don't atomize it.
Because it doesn't do any good if it doesn't get onto the plant.
Well, and what it does do, though, is if you atomize it, it'll drift to desirable plants and do damage. So
right.
That's very important to be mindful of.
Yeah.
All right, I want to get one more question in.
Okay.
I know we're nearing time. What's up with the problems I keep hearing about that are affecting knockout roses?
Okay, I know what you're talking about. It's called rosette, which is a virus, which in the plant world, viruses are non-curable, unfortunately. So if you do have rosette, your plant will die eventually. It may live 2 or 3 seasons with rosette, and what it's characterized as is these gnarly stems that come up. It's a very prominent stem that will come up, and it'll have multiple flower buds, but every one of those flower buds will be really gnarly looking. Deformed, not looking right. Even if you're not a plant person, you could look at this and see, like, this looks weird. So like I said, that's a virus. It is vectored by an insect. It's a tiny little mite that actually gets in there.
We don't mean maybe.
Never maybe.
Yeah. So you'll never even see it. It's transferred that way. Now, I will say, if you've got knockout roses and you've got rosette, you can pull one of those up and get rid of it and discard it, and you could plant a rose right back into the same spot if you wanted to. But and you may never see an issue again. You may never see that mite. It is not a soil-borne pathogen at all. So if you love your roses and you really want to go back with them, that is fine to do after you pull that infected bush out. But
using dormant oil is a good thing during the winter season, because that keeps those mites.
Roses, but
that keeps those mites from being able to survive, and they won't move around that way. So
do they sometimes call that witch's broom?
Yeah, that's a common name for anything, any type of mutation. In the plant world, a mutation is technically called a sport. And anytime you have a sport, it's a funky looking something. So funky looking leaves, stems, flowers, whatever. And that's how new cultivars are born, actually, a lot of times. So witch's brooms are cool, but not in this case. It's a virus. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, it's heartfelt.
You could hear his voice break up when he said that.
I love roses.
Touching.
There's nothing in life that's better than a heartfelt, delivery.
It's the hard truth from a rosarian.
That's right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Alan Wyndham would be proud.
He would be, especially
I know Dr. Wyndham.
Yes,
especially the crackling of the voice. At that moment when difficult times we live in with rosette. And saying we want to, and this spot has been brought to you by Dr. Alan Wyndham.
Yes,
because we got called out once upon a time.
We had a Twitter war. Going on.
When this first started happening, and Josh and I were on radio, then we used to get how many calls we get a week on rosette, and we were just looking for different ways to answer. And the one time we don't say rosette right off the get-go, we get called on it.
Yeah,
I mean, and Dr.
guys
Wyndham
didn't even bring it up listening to the local garden show.
Okay. So anyway, but Dr. Wyndham's a good friend.
Yes, he is,
and he was,
and he knows his stuff,
and he was, he was taking a cheap shot at us. Let's just call it what it was, but it was in good. It was in good spirit.
Okay.
We like that.
It's all good. Folks, I hear some music in the background. That means that we're done with this
Yeah,
edition
we
of the
we
At
burned
Home
off
Show.
another hour.
Hey, real quick though, people,
Okay.
we've got annuals, we've got vegetables, flour, power, baby. So I mean, we've got a lot.
Right
David said
here
20
in front
racks.
of us.
Oh yeah.
Hey, and by the way, folks, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a simulcast of this really cool program, the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp, on the At Home Show page.
Yeah.
That was a neat thing. Great job. Keep looking for that because I think it's going to become a regular feature, if I'm not mistaken.
We're gonna have more in April too.
Oh,
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we got a bunch of them out on the website archived. So if you don't check those out, do so.
Yep, that'd be neat. But you still need to register for some of those for those things. But we'll give them
Yes.
we'll get them a
Check the
schedule.
Bates
For,
Nursery
If you want the
Facebook
live
page for
interaction.
registration.
Yeah.
yep.
Oh yes.
All right, folks, but that music means that we're done. But for everybody here at the Great Green Room Studio, the Great Green Room Studio, with T-shirts, with dirt bottles, with everything all around, everybody here in the entire cast, thank you for joining us here on this Saturday morning, and we'll invite you back next Saturday for another hour of the At Home Show.